So, good morning ma'am, good morning classmates. Ang napunta po sa aming topic na under ng Revised Penal Code is yung crimes against honor. So a person's name, honor, and reputation is as sacred to him as his very life. Title 13, which is Crimes Against Honor, seeks to give protection thereto by defining certain acts injurious to a person's name and reputation as crimes and prescribing penalties therefore. So, yung mga crimes po is i-discuss mamaya ng mga reporters. Let's move on to the introduction. Any of the imputations covered by Article 353 is defamatory and under the general rule laid down in Article 354, every defamatory imputation is presumed to be malicious, even if it be true, if no good intention and justifiable motive for making it is shown. Let us define first what is defamatory. Defamatory or defamation, or in Tagalog is paninirang puri, is a statement that injures a third party's reputation. The tort of defamation includes both libel, which is written statements, and slander, which is spoken statements. So, basically, ang Defamation Act ay nangyayari kapag nag-publish ka or nag-spread ka ng false statements or reports which concern the third party or yung involved na person doon sa statements or reports mo. May 4 na elements ang defamation. So, to prove prima facie defamation, a plaintiff must show 4 things. Number 1, a false statement purporting to the fact. Number 2, publication or communication of that statement to a third person. Number 3, fault amounting to at least negligence. And number 4, damages or some harm caused to the person or entity who is the subject of the statement. So, yung number 1, ito yung mga statement, mga false statement na pinipilit na totoo. Which is false statement na nga. Parang ipinapakita pa na ipinapakita na totoo or sinasabi na totoo, which is hindi naman. Yung pangalawa ay nagtatakal sa pag-disseminate mo ng information, which is false information, or nag-publish ka ng false information. So, yung pangatlo, sa pagiging carelessness mo, nakakasira ka ng reputation ng ibang tao or nadadamage mo yung reputation nila dahil sa pagkakamali mo. Number 4 is yung damage na madudulot mo dun sa subject ng statement mo, yung tao. And yun yung 4 na elements ng Defamation Act. Meron din ditong nakalagay na every defamatory imputation is presumed to be malicious. So, ibig sabihin, laging magkasama ang malicious and defamatory imputation. Like, kapag sinabi ng isang tao na yung statement mo is a Defamation Act, ibig sabihin, may malice na doon na makikita. There is a malice when the author of the imputation is prompted by personal ill will or spite and speaks not in response to duty but merely to injure the reputation of the person who claims to have been defamed. Ang example nito is yung mga publishers. Let's say they were to publish an article regarding of one person's information, and ikaw na isang publisher, may galit ka dun sa tao na yon. So, nag-include ka ng false statements, and alam mo naman na hindi yun totoo, and alam mo din yung katotohanan. Then, dun na papasok yung malice, since aware ka naman sa katotohanan. Truth then is not a defense, unless it is shown that the matter charged as libelous was made with good motives and for justifiable ends. So, ibig sabihin, kahit totoo yung ikinalat mong information, hindi ka pwedeng kasuhan ng Defamation Act, since yung motive mo naman is good and for justifiable ends, considering the 4 elements of defamation. So, itong dalawang ito is yung exceptions under ng Article 354. Number 1, a private communication made by any person to another in the performance of any legal, moral, or social duty. And number 2, a fair and true report made in good faith without any comments or remarks of any judicial, legislative, or other official proceedings which are not of confidential nature or of any statement, report, or speech delivered in said proceedings or of any other act performed by public officers in the exercise of their functions. Itong dalawang ito yung magdi-deny na mayroong malice yung isang statement. Like for an example, yung free press. Sabihin natin na nag-publish ng true report yung isang publisher kahit na hindi maganda yung pinublish niya, pero yun yung totoong kinalabasan ng isang proceedings. Hindi siya masasabing Defamation Act since wala namang malice din sa ginawa niya. And ginawa lang naman niya yung duty niya and it's a true report indeed. The privileged character of these communications is not absolute, but merely qualified since they could still be shown to be malicious by proof of actual malice or malice in fact. The burden of proof in this regard is on the plaintiff or the prosecution. So yung dalawang exceptions pala na binasa ko kanina, hindi siya absolute, but merely qualified since they could still be shown to be malicious by proof of actual malice or malice in fact. Ano nga ba yung malice in fact? Ito yung when the plaintiff provide a proof na alam ng defendant na yung statement is hindi totoo. Like, alam ng defendant yung katotohanan. Yun, need nila ng proof against the defendant.
So, I'm going to discuss the first one that is considered as part of the criminal against honor under Revised Penal Code. And this is the libel or the defamation or in Tagalog, paninirang puri. So, according to the Article 353 of Section 1 in the Act Number 3815, or known as the Revised Penal Code, define libel as any public and malicious imputations of a crime or of a vice or defect, real or imaginary, or any act, omission, condition, status, or circumstance tending to cause the dishonor, discredit, or contempt of a natural or juridical person or blacken the memory of one who is dead. It means that all imputations that are considered as malicious or can be seen as defamation because of dishonor, discredit, and contempt for the rights of the offender can be considered as libel. So, kahit maliit na bagay, kung yung sinabi mo sa isang tao ay considered as paninirang puri or nasisira yung kanyang reputasyon, yung kanyang pangalan, yung kanyang pagkatao, napapahiya siya dahil dun sa sinabi mo tapos nakikitaan ka pa ng malicious intent, pwede kang sampahan ng kaso sa pamamagitan nitong Article 353 which is under the Criminal Against Honor dito sa Revised Penal Code. So according also to Article 354, every defamatory imputation is presumed to be malicious even if it be true, if no good intention and justifiable motive for making it is shown. It only means that when we're accusing someone with the things they didn't do, or even if they really did it, but your goal is considered as malicious, the offender has the right to protect themselves by using this law and Revised Penal Code. So, syempre, hindi pwedeng palampasin ng batas yung masamang hangarin mo, kaya mo pinakalat, or kaya mo siya siniraan dahil dun sa alam mo na ginawa niya, kahit hindi ka naman sigurado. Kasi nga may masama kang hangarin kaya mo yung pinakalat or sinabi. Although, sabihin na natin totoo yung accusation mo sa kanya, wala ka pa rin karapatan na pagpintangan siya hanggat hindi dumadaan sa korte at wala kang ebidensya. Kaya, minsan, huwag tayo basta-basta magsasalita or huwag natin basta-basta pagbibintangan ng isang tao, lalo kung wala tayong sapat na ebidensya kung yun nga ay totoo. So, according to what I have said, makikita natin dito kung ano ang ultimate goal ng Revised Penal Code. So, ang ultimate goal ng Revised Penal Code of course, is to revise the penal code or any other penal laws to also protect the offender and to consider the morality of the both couples. Para syempre maging fair korte and makonsider din yung pag-uugali natin kasi hindi pwedeng nagkamali siya tapos sasabihin mo na sa lahat, lalo na kung hindi naman totoo, diba? E di ko yung napasama. That's why there is an Article 353 and 354 to also protect us from accusations or defamatory imputations na pwede tayong mapahiya at pwede rin maging cause ng mental health problems. So, according to the resources that I've got, even a dead person who was accused by a defamatory imputations can file a case against dun sa taong nanira sa kanya. Pero hindi ibig sabihin na siya mismo yung magsasampa ng kaso kasi syempre wala na siya, di ba? Pero mayroon pa siyang pamilya. So, his family can use this article on Revised Penal Code as long as the imputations are considered as malicious. So, paano nga ba nagkakaroon ng exemption sa defamatory imputation? So, the exemption for the defamatory imputations and the presumption of it, even if it is considered as malicious, is still done when the imputation qualifies as privilege to communication. Kung imputations mo sa isang tao ay may sapat na ebidensya or itong krimen na dapat talagang pag-usapan kahit nakikitaan ito ng malicious intent, higit na mas may karapatan ka na magsampa ng kaso dun sa defamed na person. So I'm going to give you some of the examples of libel, and those are falsely spreading rumors that a person has a sexually transmitted disease, that a professional has a fake diplomas on his wall, and you are claiming that a worker stole equipment or money from the counter. Itong mga examples na ito, yan yung mga paghihinala natin sa iba kahit wala naman tayong sapat na ebidensya or hindi naman talaga totoo. So, libel teaches us to not easily judge other people by the false information or fake news that you've got from other person, especially on social media.
Libel o paninirang puri. A libel committed by means of writing, printing, lithography, engraving, radio, pornography, painting, theatrical exhibition, cinematographic exhibition, or any similar means. According to Legal Information Institute, libel is a method of defamation that is injurious to a person's reputation, exposes a person to public hatred, contempt or ridicule, or injures a person in his or her business or profession. In our modern days, where social media become part of our lives, libel is very rampant and very relevant in our society. With regards, in any form of social media, such Facebook and Twitter, a lot of people do posting, tweeting, and giving false statements or accusation from one to another. And I believe it is very toxic and very alarming in a way that we don't think the consequences of attacking that person and destroying his or her image in social media without reliable and credible sources of information. And the best example of this is the cyber libel case to Mr. Enchang D, a contract artist of ABS-CBN Star Magic, which charged 1 billion pesos by Claudine Bautista, a politician from Davao Occidental. Imagine, in one single tweet on Twitter can put you on jail. So, for me, it is a life lesson not only to Mr. Enchong D, but also to all social media users. If you don't have something good to say or post on social media, and you don't have enough evidence to prove your statements, then just keep yourself not posting and just mind your own business. At the end of the day, we should use social media intelligently, and we should be careful on what we post online that we don't hurt anybody. In doing so, we will having pre-stress society, and we will prevent situation such libel or paninirang puri.
Good day everyone, I am Marivic and I am going to discuss about threatening to publish. First, what is threatening to publish?
Threatening to publish. Any person who threatens another to publish a libel concerning him or the parents, spouse, child, other members of the family of the latter, or upon anyone who shall offer to prevent the publication of such libel for compensation or money consideration.
Ang libel ay isang paninirang puri kung saan maaari itong makasira ng reputation ng isang tao. Maaari itong oral or written communication na false yung statement. Or maaari ring totoo yung statement pero dapat may evidence siyang ipapakita. Kapag sinabi naman nating threatening to publish, yun yung kapag may taong nanakot sa'yo na ilalabas nila yung information na maaaring makasira sa'yo tapos pinagbabayad ka or kailangan mo magbigay ng kung anong any compensation na maaaring mapakinabangan nila. Tapos kapag nabigay mo na yung kung anong hinihingi nila, mananahimik na sila, hindi na nila ilalabas yung information na pinantatakot nila sa iyo. Maaari itong blackmail or extortion. Yung blackmail, katulad ng sinabi ko kanina, yung kapag nanahimik sila, kapag nabigay mo na yung money or any compensation na hinihingi nila. Yung extortion naman, merong coercion kung saan ang extortion may kasamang banta ng pananakit kapag hindi mo naibigay yung hinihingi nila or kailangan mo magbigay ng pera para hindi nila gawin yung ipinantatakot nila sa'yo. Tapos para hindi nila ilabas yung information na maaari makasira sa'yo. So, ano nga ba yung blackmailing?
Blackmailing is an unlawful extortion of money appearing of the offended party can either be lie, threat, or threatening to publish libel. When a blackmailer tries to reveal a victim's personal information or data that could cause the victim to embarrassment, ridicule, mockery, or hatred, and the blackmailer agrees to stay silent when she accepts the money, consideration, or any compensation. Extortion and blackmail are similar in concept, but there are differences between the two. Extortion is a form of theft that occurs when an offender obtains money, property, or services from another person through coercion. A form of extortion could include the threat of physical injury, destruction of property, or improper government action. Inaction of the testimony or the withholding of testimony in legal action are also acts that constitute coercion. The crime of extortion is often graded as a felony or a misdemeanor depending on the amount of money or the value of the property or services extorted from the victim. Originally, extortion was a crime only against republic officials who committed the acts that made up the crime under the color of their office. Recently, however, it has been extended to include extortion committed by private individuals. Extortion statutes can vary based on where you live, so always talk to a criminal lawyer.
According to Section 10 of the Libel Law Act No. 277 is as follows. Every person who threatens another to publish a libel concerning him or any parent, husband, wife, or child of such person or any member of his family and every person who offers to prevent the publication of any libel upon another person with intent to extort any money or other valuable consideration from any person shall be punished by a fine of not exceeding 2,000 Philippine pesos or by imprisonment for not exceeding 6 months or both. As for extortion, both lang po yata sila ng punishment. Yung Section 10 and Act number 277 din po.
Slander, oral defamation. This refers to the speaking of base and defamatory words which tends to prejudice another in his reputation, office, trade, business, or means livelihood. Like what I said, slander is the action of crime of making a false spoken statement damaging to the person's reputation. And defamation is the oral or written communication of a false statement about another that unjustly harms their reputation and usually constitutes a tort or crime. One of the examples is claiming a person is gay, lesbian, or bisexual when it is untrue in an attempt to harm his or her reputation. Telling someone that a certain person cheated on his taxes or committed tax fraud.
Hi, I'm Patrisha and B. San Jose, and now I'm going to discuss the Article 359 of the Revised Penal Code, which is slander by deed. So first, what is slander by deed? Slander by deed, it is a libel committed by actions rather than words. And the most common examples are slapping someone or spitting on his or her face in public place where it is a full view of a crowd, thus casting dishonor, discredit, and contempt upon the person of another. So, para mas maintindihan, ito ay isang paninirang puri sa pamamagitan ng gawa o kilos sa reputasyon, dangal o karakter ng isang tao.
What could be the penalty of this crime? The penalty prescribed by law for serious slander by deed under Article 359 of the Revised Penal Code is arresto mayor maximum to prison correctional minimum or 4 months and 1 day to 2 years and 4 months, or a fine ranging from 200 pesos to 1,000 pesos.
And there are 3 elements of slander by deed. First is offender performs any act not included in any other crime against honor. Number 2, such act is performed in the presence of other person or persons. Ito yung kilos na ginawa sa harap ng ibang tao o ng maraming tao kung saan maraming nakakita ng pangyayari. And number 3, such act casts dishonor, discredit, or contempt upon the offended party. Ito ay para ilagay sa kahihiyan, kasiraan, at kahamakan ang nasaktang tao. And this can also be simple slander by deed or serious grave slander by deed. Ito yung seryoso at very insulting. So, the Supreme Court said that there are no concrete parameters also when you should consider it serious slander by deed or simple slander, but it depends upon the sound discretion of the court. So, to further explain this, what if intending to defame or slander the artist in her show? So, the crime committed here is a serious slander by deed because of the reputation, the status in life of the said person. So, for an invitation to be libelous, the following requisites must concur. First, it must be defamatory. Second, it must be malicious. And third, it must be given publicity. And fourth, the victim must be identifiable. So, here in our country, in the Philippines, a serious slander is punishable by imprisonment of arresto mayor, and it's a maximum period to prison correctional, and it's a minimum period or 4 months and a 1 day to 2 years and a 4 months, while simple slander is punishable by arresto menor or 1 day to 1 month or a fine not exceeding 200 pesos. So in that case, we didn't know na maaari na tayong makasuhan in those kinds of act in public, kaya we better think before we act. And syempre, give some respect kasi kung ayaw mo rin masiraan ang reputasyon, then don't do it to others, as simple as that. Remember Confucius' quote, "Don't do unto others what you don't want done unto you." That's all.
Incriminating innocent person. Any person who by any act not constituting perjury shall directly incriminate or impute to an innocent person the commission of a crime. Ang incriminating innocent person, tumutukoy ito sa isang tao na walang kasalanan, pero pagdating sa korte, siya ang tinuturong may sala. Subali, ang incriminating innocent person lumalabas isa itong frame up kung saan yung mga inosenteng tao hinahanapan ng butas upang maging guilty sa isang krimen kahit hindi naman talaga siya guilty. Incriminating innocent person, nagpapatunay rin ito na bias ang paghusga ng husgado sapagkat hindi nakukulong ang totoong may sala.
Number 7. Intriguing against honor. Any intrigue which has for its principal purpose to blemish the honor or reputation of a person. So, ito yung mga information na nilileak by an unknown person or source na makakasira sa isang tao. So, we have one element, which is the source of gossip is unknown. So, kung mapapansin natin, yung intriguing against honor is katulad siya ng slander. Ang pinagkaiba nga lang, yung slander, kilala yung source. And yung intriguing against honor is hindi kilala yung source ng information. Ang punishment under ng intriguing against honor, you may be imprisoned for a period of 1 day to 30 days or be slapped with a fine not exceeding 20,000 pesos. It is also considered as a crime involving moral turpitude, which means an act of baseness, vileness, depravity in the private and social duties which a man owes his fellow man or to society in general, contrary to the accepted and customary rule of right and duty between man and man, or conduct contrary to justice, honesty, modesty, and good morals. So, kaya na-involve yung moral turpitude kasi yung intriguing against honor is nakakasira ng reputation ng isang tao. Nakakasagasa ka ng isang tao. Ganun. Hindi lang mai-involve yung moral turpitude if the crimes do not rise to the level of depravity or evilness that's inherent in a crime involving moral turpitude. Yun. So, maliban dun sa unknown source or unknown person, kasama din yung mga taong nag-gossip dun sa information. Kasama sila sa mga offender. So, they are liable sa intriguing against honor. And that ends our report. Thank you for watching and listening po.